Hello everyone, so I've been playing the Resident Evil 4 remake demo for a couple days now, and I just got a mod for RE4 Framework which allows for free cam, and I discovered some interesting things that I want to show you guys. So here is something small that I discovered that I thought was a little interesting, which is this door behind it actually has some like locks and stuff on it instead of being just like the normal door texture when it's open, which I thought was a little interesting, so I wanted to show that off. So if we come this way, the first thing you will notice is all the floating doors everywhere, which this is the unloaded village. I don't know why all the doors are just loaded in all the time, but I thought that was really interesting and kind of weird to see. Another thing is this T-pose model here is both the first Ganado and the first police officer you see in the Hunter's Lodge. If you look at them from certain angles, for some reason their heads disappear, which is a little odd, but I thought it was kind of cool to see both of them kind of T-posing out in the middle of nowhere. So this here is one of the cutscenes with the free cam. I wanted to show off kind of some of the mechanics here. You can see how lighting changes. Here you're about to see the Ganado spawn just behind Leon there. Sometimes it kind of takes control of the camera a bit, which is why you might see some weird camera effects happen, like it'll suddenly zoom in or whip around or something, which is not something I was intending for. But it's interesting to see how they kind of handle these cutscenes when you're not looking at them from the angle they're wanting you to. Like there you can see Leon kind of switch places a bit. You can see the Ganado switching places around. Leon just despawn. It's very interesting to see all this stuff, but I thought that was kind of cool and I wanted to show this off. This is also the only cutscene I'm showing off with this. Here you see the Ganado in the stairwell that you see after killing the first broken neck Ganado. He's kind of low poly here, so I thought that was a little interesting to show off. Not full low poly, but there's a normal Ganado kind of closer to me, so you can see the full model. Now this part is very interesting. First, you can see full low poly models, which I thought was really cool to show off. But the one behind the truck here has a very interesting AI, which I wasn't expecting to see. When you get close enough to him, he actually runs away towards the cabin that he ambushes you in. But he stops right before the bear trap. And then once you get closer to him beyond that, he then teleports into the cabin rather than running all the way there. I don't know why they did that or how they handled it like that, but I thought that was cool to show off. So going back to the village now, it's still not fully loaded, but there is some cool stuff to see here though, because it's a little more loaded. For one, you can see the cop that's normally burned at the stake, as well as some of the items kind of laying around, floating through the air. There's also the church in the background too, which I thought was really cool to see. So here you can see some more of the village has loaded in. There are Ganados around, still low poly. Some of the buildings haven't really loaded in yet, but some have, which I find a little strange, but also kind of interesting. I don't know exactly how they handle the building load process, why some do, some don't, but I kind of want to show that off a bit. And here's some close-ups of some of the low poly models, with a little bit of better lighting too, so you can get a better look at them. Something kind of weird that I saw was chickens, I think, are full poly, which I don't really understand why that is. Another cool thing is this right here, I assume, is going to be the burned corpse of the cop that's burned at the stake later at night when you return here after getting Ashley. You can see he's much more skeletal, he's charred, the handcuffs are weirdly down on the ground, but his arms are still kind of held in that position, which I assume is like the rigor mortis in him being burned. He's probably like stuck there now, rather than having to be chained there. So here is the cave with the TMP in it. You can see the lighting is a little weird, but I fix that here in just a second. I unload the lighting cell right there. And so you can kind of see a little bit of a better look down here. Normally you get the TMP by discarding all of your items just before entering the village. Here you can see Leon looking through the binoculars, which I kind of thought was cool to see. It's not anything too special, but I wanted to show it off because it's new and it's kind of weird. So here's another interesting little thing that I saw. For some reason, the Dr. Salvador actually has a normal walking around fighting model, which is fairly low poly. You can see here. You can kind of see like some of the ruggedness and edges of his skin and bag and stuff. However, when you get locked into a chainsaw parry with him, he actually goes into his full poly cutscene model, which you can see here being a lot more high res and you can see more detail. I thought that was kind of interesting to show off, and I wanted to kind of get some close-ups of him. And I tried to look under his bag to see what more of his face you could see, but I think only the top half of his face is rendered, unfortunately. But there is still some more detail you can see through this, which I wanted to show off. So here we are getting into spoiler territory. This is the area you go to after you finish the village fight. This is the Barnyard area with the blue medallions and stuff like that. So you can see there's some unloaded buildings and a strange chest back here. I assume this will be kind of where you get the beer stein in the original game. And here is the blue medallion. So I think these look really cool in the remake, and I kind of want to show them off. I show off a couple locations of them here in this demo, but they're kind of scattered about. This, I don't know what it is exactly, but it reminds me of the area you get the wooden goat from Resident Evil Village. I don't think it'll play that same part, but it kind of reminded me of that. In this little building here, you get the typewriter, and for some reason there's no desk, which I thought was a little strange. Now this is interesting. You can see the dirty water in the well here, and when you look up, you actually see what seems to be like a lantern of some kind hanging over it on a yellow highlighted windmill. What I think this is like how in the original you had the pendant that you had to shoot down and not drop into the water over the well. I think this is the same concept, but instead you have to somehow get the windmill to go away from the well before dropping the lantern into it. So here's the sort of somewhat church building that all the Ganadas go into after the village fight. There's a lot of stuff that isn't spawned in here, so you don't see any like religious paraphernalia or any of the skulls or anything from the trailer, but I thought it was kind of cool to see the interior still. Here's where the merchant normally spawns. You can see his signature purple light there. And right here is the first quest paper I assume you'll be able to pick up. I think that's really cool to be able to see that there, and I kind of want to show that off a little bit and kind of give people an idea of where you might find those. Here you can see the path leading up to the church and the graveyard, which you can't see the graveyard fully, unfortunately. But you can see a very low poly church, which I think is kind of cool to get the sort of size and shape of it. Because I assume this is going to be not fully to scale, but somewhat to scale for the full game. And I can't wait to see how they handle all the graveyard and everything. I think this is going to be awesome. So this is the pathway returning to the village after getting kidnapped with Louis. There isn't much to show here. It's a cave with this little lantern kind of restock looking area, I want to say. It's definitely not a merchant. There's no signature blue light like you saw earlier with the other merchant. But this is definitely something kind of important here, so I kind of want to show that off a bit. That's really all there is to show here, though. There's not much going on here, and it doesn't load much beyond this, unfortunately. A small detail I did want to show off in this cave, though, is the bats. The bats are returning from the original, and that's just a tiny detail that I thought was kind of cool to make a return. Now, in here is the barn that you have to jump in with Ashley, and I kind of want to show off a little more of the inside. You can already see that there's a chest like I showed there, but going in, you can see, while most of the village is very akin to the Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries version of the village, this is one big difference here. The only thing that's the same is that you can go in here. I have no idea what's going to be in the chest, but you can kind of see the interior there a little bit, which I think is cool that you can see that. But there's no item spawn, unfortunately. As well as right there is the lock that I assume Ashley will be able to unlock for you once she goes in there. I don't know how they're going to handle that, if it's going to be like the original where she just jumps over and unlocks it, or if it's going to be like you get to play as her for a couple seconds, or you can switch between them or something. I have no idea. I also decided to come in here and look through this drawer a bit to see if you could see what's locked inside, but unfortunately there's nothing. Another interesting thing are these two black boxes underneath the map that I found while I was exploring. I assume these are the two different sort of lighting filters that you can get throughout exploring the initial parts of the village, where it goes from like night to early morning to day. Now, another interesting thing I found is if you go back towards the truck from the Hunter's Lodge, you can actually see these two mysterious doors sitting here. I have tried looking around as much as I can to see if I can pinpoint where this would be in the map, but this is just not anywhere that we see in the demo. So my guess is there's a chance we could go back this way, which I think could be cool. Now this, down under the map, is the room that Hunnigan calls you from. There are a lot of hidden details in here that you don't normally get to see in the cutscene that I assume you'll be able to see more in the full game. Right there you can see a random picture of a very beautiful woman. I have no idea who she is. I don't know if it's a developer or if it's meant to be like a rendering of who might be Ashley's mother. I have no idea. You can see some pictures of Ashley laying around. Here's Hunnigan's desk with the computers. Boundary Break has already done a short on this, which I'm going to leave a lot of the details to them, because I think they do a much better job of exploring tiny details. There are a lot of like funny little notes around, little Easter eggs around here that you probably wouldn't be able to see normally. But I kind of want to show off the general layout of the room. There's a couple extra things around here that I think are interesting to point out, such as how detailed the room is despite only seeing a small amount of it. So maybe more cutscenes will take place in more areas, or you'll be able to explore it a little bit in like a flashback or something. So here you can see whenever you're in the attaché case, very much like the original, it's kind of done in layers with a PNG in the background, except this time you can see there's a case layer, a fog layer, and then a sort of PNG background of where you are in the game. It kind of takes a screenshot and just pastes it there, which I think is a little interesting. It kind of makes it hard to see the screen normally now, knowing how that is. Here you can see when you examine an item, it creates a fourth layer, which allows you to see a miniaturized version of the item in front of the case. Now, picking up new items works very similarly to the case, where it kind of takes a screenshot of where you are and pastes it in the background as a PNG, while you can see a miniaturized version of the item kind of just floating around in space. Right here I picked up the shotgun, and in the next clip I picked up the Hunter's Lodge key. It's kind of cool to see how they did some of this stuff, and again, it does make it very jarring to try to play the game knowing that this is a thing. So here I wanted to show off the Plaga coming out and stabbing you with the broken neck Ganados. Interestingly, you can see the spike before it comes out of them, but only when they're grabbing you. I wanted to show off some close-up shots of Super Salvador in the Mad Chainsaw mode. He looks a lot creepier here, and I'm hoping to see more of him in the full game. I tried getting in his mask too. There wasn't much to show, unfortunately. Now, something interesting here that I want to talk about. This isn't anything to do with the free cam, but I did notice while getting this footage that when you pick up the handgun ammo, normally it doesn't show anything special, but when I picked up this handgun ammo off a drop from an enemy, it showed the attaché case next to it, and I tried to reproduce every bit of this that I could to make sure I knew what I was looking at. And I think this means that when you pick up a drop that the attaché case gives you a bonus for, it'll actually show that that's what that was. Like the attaché case bonus can give you more green herbs or more handgun ammo, and so here the demo gives you more handgun ammo with the case. And right there, with picking that up, it shows the attaché case next to it. So I kind of want to show that off a bit. So, that'll be it for this video. I know it doesn't have a whole ton of information in it, but I kind of wanted to show some stuff off that I found while doing this. I'm sure a lot of this stuff has been covered by other YouTubers, and there's more that I found that I decided not to show because I assumed already that it had been. And I also wanted to leave more stuff for Boundary Break because I know he's going to do a video on this very soon. But I kind of want to show off some of the stuff I found that maybe he didn't. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye. Here's some bonus footage of a glitch that happened while I was trying to get the close-ups of Super Salvador.